Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Michael Bird, and I am joined by my man in Middleburg, Florida, Mr. Rob Chismark. And when we are together, you are watching and listening to The Sticky Side. What's going on, Rob? How you doing today, man?
Man, it's a great day. Every day's a great day as some of the stuff that I've been going through lately. But
Well, you know,
today's just one of those days of life.
yeah, man. I apologize to people watching on YouTube, for the technical difficulties. Like we got some video feed issues where it's freezing, but I hate to start the show on like a somber occasion, but throughout the cornhole world today, it's been a pretty sad day. Uh, Alan Rocky Rockwell passed, and for those of you that have been around the game, I don't know. I only know Rocky from like mostly the ACO days, which is kind of like 2012 to 2017. Uh, but Rocky is a well-known or was a well-known player throughout the country, and unfortunately he lost his bout with cancer this morning. I was actually shocked to even hear that he had cancer. I think somebody told me about it at ACL Worlds a couple of months ago, and I was like, "Oh wow, I couldn't believe it." But yeah, man, that really sucks. Really sucks, man.
Yeah, somber. It's like I said, it's just one of those days life dishes you. So it's it's good to be here, but it's crazy.
Yeah, you know, hearing about Rocky's death made me sit back and think. We've lost a lot of good people and players in cornhole in the past 5 years. I don't want to like mention all the ones I had relationships like Damon Cochran, uh, Rocky, and there's a few more. But like Rocky, he comes up as one of my favorite matches I ever had when I was playing cornhole. When I was a beginner player, 2012, the first time I ventured out to play, Rocky was one of the first out-of-state players I had a chance to play. And at the time, Rocky's an ACO pro, and it was an ACO major right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, at Carowinds, and I had to play Rocky, and I was nervous as hell. Got those butterflies going, and man, I actually played Rocky really well, and I thought I was going to beat him because I was up by like double digits at one point. But as a consummate professional does, they sit back, assess the situation, and then commence to whooping my ass, which he did. But I'll never forget after the match, Rocky. He came up to me and was just like, "Don't get down," And he was like, "Man, you're a great player." He gave me all the accolades, and the pat on the back, and it just felt good and sincere coming from him. You know, you hear those from other players when they beat you in a game, and you may give them to people yourself. And a lot of them, they just kind of feel fake. They don't feel sincere about it. It's kind of like going through the motions, just like a classy thing to do. But with Rocky, it felt sincere, like he really meant what he was saying. So yeah,
And
man.
and Rocky had one of those like deep radio voices. Like he commanded a room with just his voice sometimes. So when he did say that to you, it almost sounded like a father. Yeah, I've had those experiences playing Rocky over the years, the same way, and 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 seeing all of his success too. He was he was everything, dude. He's a pillar of this game. If there's a Mount Rushmore, the Rocky probably belongs on it.
Yeah, and you're definitely speaking the facts right there. I remember he was a ACO certified official, and he was like the man in cornhole back on the east coast of Virginia. Yeah, I know Coastal Baggers was their big thing, and they have a real big crew up there that played. And I know Rocky was kind of the head of it. And then Rocky went to the ACL probably 4 years ago, I believe, and helped spearhead the ACL. But you're correct, man. There's a small few number of players that belong on, or directors that belong on that Mount Rushmore. I think Rocky's a good candidate for one of those spots. Yeah, we definitely
Yeah,
lost
without a doubt.
a great ambassador of the game, a great role model for younger players, and players like myself. Some of us old head OGs. So, yeah,
Yeah, it was, and he was just like I said. He even found a way to have fun. And rest in peace, Rocky.
yeah, man, yeah. Rest in peace, Rock. But yeah, so let's move on, man. So what's happening in the world of cornhole right now, man? What kind of information you got
I
over
mean, it's
there?
kind of the end of the off season, you know. So, well, for us in the ACL, it's kind of the end of the off season. October 1st, I believe that's Friday, is when the brand new season kicks off. It's kind of a new way for the ACL to do it. They used to start it September 1st, right after, almost 2 weeks after the World Championship. But this time they gave us a little bit of a month off, kind of, just have fun and have a good time. And the regional season starts October 1st again. And, regionals they're popping up everywhere. They're going to be all over Florida this year, all over Georgia, brand new regional directors everywhere, just getting their regionals out. You know what it's like in that, being that you spent a lot of time in ACO, you were a certified official yourself, that once a month you got to have a regional and get plenty of players together and throw some bags and have a blast. And it's just been, that's what we're leading up to here October 1st for the American Cornhole League anyway.
Yeah, I know ACO. They started their league